23 people arrested over the protest on suspicion of conspiracy to cause public nuisance, a new charge that carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in jail. Among those apprehended today were 4 suspected organisers caught in the morning raids. 3 additional arrests had been made on Sunday as part of a, quote, proactive policing effort. Just Stop Oil's alleged mastermind, Roger Hallam, was among those flanked by officers following the receipt of intelligence about plans for public disruption. But the significant operation not only failed to thwart today's chaos, Just Stop Oil have warned motorists to avoid the M25 and associated roads from 7 a.m. tomorrow as they plan to continue their protests in the coming days. So I'm sorry, Belinda De Lucy, this ain't working, number one. And number two, these are not protests. This is eco-terrorism. Go and look at the Terrorism Act of the year 2000 and everything these narcissistic fools are doing equates to terrorism.
Well, I think actually even more worrying at the moment is you've got teenagers now with the same levels of anxiety as psychiatric patients had in the 1950s. In-depth and highly respected reports have been done time and time again. And what we're doing to our young is shredding their nerves, making them fragile and panicked in this constant state of fear. And you saw from your footage just now how this young girl is literally unravelling with no care in the world that her career might be over, go to prison, she might fall from the bridge. And the scary thing is people are being taught everyone's going to die, so if a few people die along the way, you're saving billions anyway. So someone's going to get hurt, either the protesters who've been brainwashed,
right?
Utterly and totally, and it is a form of abuse. I'm sorry, but we need to call it out. These Armageddon cults are abusing our children. They are informing them such ridiculous, catastrophic images of what is going to happen to the planet if they don't climb a bridge. You saw her. It's not just her. The girl who poured faeces over Captain Moore's memorial. All these young people, they're being their mental well-being.
Well, she was on the show. She was on the show,
nuts.
and I was deeply worried for her. But it's also these newspapers, you know, it's these newspapers like The Eye and The Guardian, Carole Malone, that are spreading this terror.
Completely. But also remember, this is actually starting in schools as well.
It is.
Kids are being taught this rubbish in schools. That girl there needs help. You know, she's got more chance of having no future by falling off that bridge than she has with the planet. But, you know, the trouble is, I think activists in this country now know they can do whatever the hell they like. They can see that authority in this country is just collapsing. They see the government, the police, all the institutions that are responsible for authority, they're just too squeamish about their responsibilities to take them on. So they know that whatever they do, those people who are arrested today will maybe be in a cell for overnight, but then they'll be sent to court, they'll get a smack on the wrist, and they'll be free again. So there are no consequences.
Well, we've seen that with the justice system, Nigel Nelson, because I believe you don't think there needs to be any stronger laws on this. But you look at our justice system, Nigel, they are woke and they are soft on eco-terrorists.
Yeah,
because they agree with
Sorry, let's get the language right. These people are not terrorists. They may turn into them, but they're not terrorists yet.
Go and have a look at the definition of...
I did. The Terrorism Act does not cover what they're doing. That you have to actually use explosives, firearms, or serious violence to pursue an ideological goal. They're not using serious violence and obviously not firearms.
That's not true, because of cyber terrorism and things like that. I mean, you don't have to use violence to kill people. But also, these people are putting lives at risk.
But also, it's civil disobedience on a grand scale with a potential for people to die. Those kids could die.
Yeah, Belinda is absolutely right. It's a cult.
Yes, and do we think Roger Hallam, you know, he's getting all these vulnerable, impressionable kids to do his dirty work. He wasn't up there on the gantry today. They were. And he doesn't care if those kids die, because he's already said
these
if
poor
people
children
die in the back of ambulances because of his protest, he doesn't give a stop. So he won't care about those kids.
When it comes to the penalties, they've just been increased. So Louise can face 6 months in jail.
She won't get it, though.
Well,
she won't get it.
This is down to the judges. This is down to the judges to actually do it.
The girl last week that was on this show who looked like a zombie, I have to be said, she was trotting out nonsense. She had been arrested 3 times. 4th time in court, the judge said he wouldn't jail her because of her age. She was 21. I'm sorry.
And I just want to push back with you on the 2000 Terrorism Act, Nigel, because...
Could you look it up?
Yes, you just looked it.
Well, no, because I've written about this a lot in the past, because terrorism means the use of or threat of action where the use or threat is designed to influence the government and the use or threat is made for the purpose of advancing a political or ideological cause.
Or religious
action
cause.
falls within this subsection if it involves serious damage to property. Yes. Endangers a personal life. Yes. Creates a serious risk to the health or safety of the public or a section of the public. Yes. Or is designed seriously to interfere with or seriously to disrupt an electronic system. How can you tell me
and the next paragraph,
action of just
and the next
stop
paragraph
oil
will
is not doing
say that it's the use of firearms and explosives is the next paragraph of the actual reading at the moment. That's what constitutes terrorism. So if you use extreme violence, a knife or something like that, that would actually count. All I'm saying is that these people are not terrorists. They're jackasses. They're disruptors.
Someone is going to get hurt. There is going to be someone severely injured or death.
People have already
through
died.
this, and that will be
Ambulances have already
risk
been
to life.
held up
It
with
is
stroke
frightening.
victims in those
We've
vehicles.
invited this kind of behaviour because we've indulged it. A lot of these, these tantrum-throwing trust fund babes, they think it's OK to chuck a can of soup over a Van Gogh sunflowers, a painting that's worth
No, it's not okay.
prices, 75 million quid. But, they think they can do it because nothing happens to them.
It's entitlement.
But they get nothing happens to them.
And the point that I'm making, Nigel, is that, I'm someone who absolutely is a free speech fundamentalist and I absolutely believe in the right to protest. And that's why I have to say there is a serious distinction. This is not protest. This is criminal activity.
I agree entirely.
I believe it is eco-terrorism, and that is why.
That's where you have to stop. That's where you stop.
Okay,
It is criminal.
That is why these people need to be treated differently. That is why the law needs to be toughened up.
But toughened up to what? I mean, you've got to have a proportionality about it.
No, you don't. These folk need to go to jail.
But
for how long?
A year.
And the law says they can. The law says 51 weeks for blocking a public highway, you can get a max of. But the trouble is there's no cells to put them in. We don't have enough cells to put those kids in jail.
Or police to
But it's like the
protest.
Rwanda scheme. There have to be some folk who are made an example of here, because then the rest of the eco-terrorists will realise they can't.
But it should be the adults and not the children that they're farming out to take all the responsibility and risk their lives for. It needs to be the ringleaders.
3 days in a jail cell is a badge of honour. 4 months in a jail cell, they're not going to like that very much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, look, we're less than 24 hours away from the US midterm elections, which will prove critical for Trump and Biden. And on Whoopi Goldberg's Liberal talk show, The View, the rhetoric just gets nastier and nastier. Host Sunny Hostin exposed her racial intolerance with this disparaging description of white suburban women. Watch.
I read a poll just yesterday that white Republican suburban women are now going to vote Republican.
Why?
It's almost like roaches voting for Raid, right?
I think they're voting. No, it's insulting to the voter.
They're voting against their own self-interest. Do they want to live in Gilead?
Okay, so do we love
in the hands?
Do we love democracy?
I mean, absolutely divisive stuff. And of course, Belinda De Lucy, it's these suburban white women who are likely to give Biden a humbling.
I am so shocked. I hadn't seen that clip. If anyone had called either the black or Jewish or any other minority croaches, this is what the language Hitler used to try and dehumanise people. These critical race theories, these BLM people are trying to dehumanise white people so we're easy targets, so no one gets... It's almost sanctioning violence and hatred towards white people. I can't believe she wasn't pulled off the stage and thrown into jail for that.
What Belinda said. She's absolutely right.
Really what Belinda said.
But this is the divisive language going on in the US, and that is why I actually believe we might see a very monumental election in America over the next 48 hours.